Welcome to Toastmasters Bay to Bay, where we feature speakers from San Francisco to Monterey. My name is Birgit, and I will be your host. Toastmasters International is a nonprofit public speaking and leadership organization. Now, when you think of public speaking and communication skills, the first thing that you think of is probably not competition. But let's look at some real-life scenarios. If you're interviewing for a job, you are using your experience and your communication skills as you compete for that opening. There are other ways that you compete indirectly. There are many conference organizers in the business world that will look at ratings of speakers before they decide which speakers to invite back the next year. Toastmasters can help you get over those jitters and speak in a competitive manner and be more comfortable doing that. To do this, there are club contests, and the winners of club contests compete at higher and higher levels until they get to the district level. Now, our District 4 runs from San Francisco all the way down to Kings County. We have over 250 clubs, over 5,000 members. And tonight, we are lucky enough to have the winners of the two past speech contests at our District 4 conference. The first contest is the International Speech Contest. And the goal of the International Speech Contest is to be inspirational. And the winner of the International Speech Contest will be representing District 4 at the Toastmasters International Convention. We're very lucky to have tonight Henry Miller, distinguished Toastmaster and past District Governor, with his speech, The Messengers.
The messengers in our lives are everywhere, and they will appear to guide us when we are ready to listen to their message, to take our leap of faith. October 9, 1988 is a day I will always remember. On that day, my wife and I were at a Red Lobster in our hometown, Elmont, New York, celebrating her 35th birthday. It was our first evening out after the birth of our second child, Felicia. Our firstborn, Roger, was just 2.5. And I thought for 7 years of marriage, we were doing fine. We had a beautiful home, the picture-perfect family, the Cadillac, and even the dog, Snowball. So I was a bit surprised when she said, while chatting over dinner, "Henry, I'm getting old. I feel lost. I need to find myself." Lost, I thought, how could that be? You're right here with me. I thought she was joking when she said, "I think we should separate." Whoa, separate? She was a messenger with a message. And 1 month later, she was gone. Devastated, I did everything to hold what was left of the family together. I couldn't understand what was happening. My life had just changed in a New York minute. My life was a mess. But sometimes it takes a messenger when your life is in a mess to show you the light. The first to appear, my sisters. Now I have 7 sisters, and believe me, they are true messengers. When you tell one of them your business, you just told them all. I confided in one sister in Tampa, and by the following day, I was receiving invitations from the sisters in California to come, bring the kids. They even came in song, "Do you know the way to San Jose?" And that kept calling and calling until I surrendered, when they convinced me that it was okay to be not okay. But before leaving New York for San Jose, I sat the kids down and made them promise that they would be on their best behavior. No jumping on auntie's beds like you do at home. They promised. 2 days into the trip, what were they doing? You guessed it. Jumping. I said, "Guys, you promised." They said, "Dad, we are happy." Then little Miss Missy, with her large, brown, beautiful eyes, said, "Well, why don't you go and get our beds? We can live here." So I asked, well, what about your mommy in New York? They said, Daddy, we will find you a new mommy here. And at that moment, I heard voices echo in my head. Listen to the messenger. Listen. So I did. But returning to New York alone and leaving the kids in the care of my sisters was painful. Now, I was the one feeling lost, but I never lost hope because I was sure that my messengers would appear to guide me. And then it happened. One day, just as I was about to step into the elevator at work, a huge hand reached out to hold the elevator door for me. And standing before me was my hero, the great Muhammad Ali, in the flesh, just when everyone was calling for him to retire. So I too chimed in. With champ, it's over, stop. He laughed, he said, no, you better stop. And we started chatting. As soon I would realize that he was my messenger when he said, in life, we will always have battles to fight. But the trick is, we must learn to pick our battles. And at that moment, my battle within was over. And I was ready to take my leap of faith to find that new home, that new job, that new mommy in California and start life all over again. And 3 weeks later, I was on my way to San Jose driving, leaving all of my toys and comforts behind. Well, except for the Cadillac. And I would arrive in New York, in California, the day after the Loma Prieta earthquake. The earth was still shaking. And I could only remember the kids saying, Daddy, get under the table here with us. Those are aftershocks celebrating your return. I knew then that joy was back in our lives. Joy was back in our lives, but the best was yet to come. Some 15 years later, when the nest was emptying, when I found that new mommy at the gym, hard and sweaty. And today, she's my wife and most trusted messenger, to whom I always will listen to. Yes, dear. Yes, dear. My fellow Toastmasters, there would always be times in our lives when we feel lost, but we must never lose hope. Always trust that your messenger will appear in your hours of darkness to show you the light. And that messenger may be a child, perfect stranger, family member, or one of your heroes, who knows? But what I do know is that when you listen to your messenger and you take that leap of faith, your life and the lives you touch will be transformed forever. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Henry. You shared a very personal story with us, and we really appreciate that.
Thank you.
So now what kind of preparation are you going to do to represent District 4 at the convention?
Well, quite a lot. Firstly, I have to get this speech down again because sometimes it's such an emotional speech that sometimes it gets to me and it takes me back in time, and I have to be able to control those emotions. And you know, some people give speeches. To me, it's not a speech. Yeah. It's a part of my life.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing it with us, Henry.
Thank you.
One of the hallmarks of the Toastmaster experience is to get feedback. So to evaluate Henry's speech, we have with us Mary Edmunds from True Talking Toastmasters. Please help me welcome Mary.
Thank you. The messengers in our lives. Your children are as poetic as you. They really align themselves with you. When you had this tragedy happen to you that you were completely caught unaware, your wife said, "Time to move on, I'm lost." And you were so shocked. And you have a family of 7 sisters. And you said that you told one, and the other 6 people found out. And they said, "It's okay to have this in your life. Come visit us. Bring your children." So you instructed your children to behave so nicely. And they did just as you told them not to. But they said, "Daddy, stay here. We're going to find you a new mommy." You didn't know whether to believe them or not, but you had no choice. You had to go back to New York. Messengers. The second messenger in your life was a hero of all of us, Muhammad Ali. And you spoke to him. The 2 of you had this harmony. He must have seen something in you, so he encouraged you as a messenger to pick your battles. And you calculated that. Yeah, that sounds like a really, really good idea. Then life went on, and you missed your children. And they said, "Daddy, come out to San Jose. You know the way to San Jose." Now, all through this story, you kept us so involved every second. The authenticity of your speaking echoes your heart. And no wonder you have such a wonderful family. You came out with faith, and you said, "I'm listening to the messengers. I'm going to come out to San Jose." And you raised your family. And then one day, 15 years later, you met somebody at the gym. You thought back to the time that you got here, the day after the earthquake in San Francisco. And your children were so happy that the earthquake aftershocks were here celebrating your visit. So throughout your life, you've had these messengers, and you're giving us a cue for us to be as sensitive as you are, to always look out for the strangers and friends to be our messengers, and they will transform our lives. I believe you, Henry. Congratulations on a great speech.
Thank you so much, Mary.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to see a video clip of Rory Baden. Rory was the runner-up at the World Championship of Public Speaking, where Henry will be representing us. He visited us for a district conference a few years back. Let's take a look at what he had to say.
It's sort of deja vu for me to be back here because a couple years ago, this was like the very first district conference that I ever spoke at after going to the World Championship of Public Speaking, and life has been crazy in an awesome way ever since then. In 2007, out of 25,000 contestants from over 20 countries, I was the 2007 Toastmasters International World Champion of Public Speaking, first runner-up. The youngest person in the history of Toastmasters to make it to the World Championship twice. I went back-to-back, once when I was 23 in 2006 and once when I was 24 in 2007. I knew at a fairly young age that I wanted to be a professional speaker and an author. And it's like, who's going to listen to a 20-something-year-old about success and self-discipline? And so when I learned about the World Championship of Public Speaking, to me, I thought, wow, what a great avenue or vehicle that if I could win the World Championship of Public Speaking, that people would maybe take note of that. And now, since that time, I leveraged that experience and started a company called Southwestern Consulting. And most people know us because we're the ones who do the huge motivational sales training conferences. People go, wow, he's so young. And I am young in age time, but I'm very, very old in stage time. From October 27th, 2005, which was the day that I decided to pursue the World Championship, and August of 2007, when I came in second, I spoke 304 times for free. And through that process, not only did I become a better speaker, but I became a better student of speaking, because I recorded every single presentation and watched every single presentation and I was becoming my own best coach. And the good news about that is that everybody has a chance. there's a hope for everybody. But the bad news, or the realistic news, is that you have to work at it. You have a choice between every day taking the stairs and taking the escalator, and most people choose the escalator. We choose the convenient way, the easy way. We look for the shortcut. All successful people take the stairs. They do the things that they know they should do even when they don't feel like doing it. They do the things that other people aren't willing to do. And so that's where take the stairs came from. And so I said, I'm going to take the stairs more often. I'm going to make a commitment to take the stairs as a physical reminder that I am a person that's willing to do things that other people aren't willing to do. The thing that we have screwed up in our escalator society and that media tells us is that there's a shortcut, there's a magic pill, there's a secret formula, and that's just not the truth. The truth is that we have to do the things that we don't want to do. We have to pay a price. We have to work hard, we have to be disciplined, we have to take the stairs.
Welcome back. Now, we have another contest winner with us today, and this year District 4 held a Tall Tales contest. We actually have not done that in quite a few years. The hallmark of a tall tale is to start out with a realistic story and then use exaggeration to bring the point across. And we have our District 4 winner of our Tall Tales contest. Please help me welcome Andy Keates, My Flight to DC.
Thank you, Birgit. Now, before I start, this is the speech that I gave at a competition several weeks ago. My thoughts very much go out to anybody affected by the recent air crash in San Francisco. It could have been me involved. I hope that the timing of this speech, which has subject matter concerning airline travel, will not be considered insensitive. In January, I had to fly to Washington, D.C. via Denver, which was problematic because there was a winter storm closing in on Denver. About 15 minutes outside of Denver, this plane started shaking badly. The fasten seatbelt signs went on, and the flight attendants returned to their seats, staggering like me leaving Oktoberfest. The shaking only got worse. Suddenly, the plane lurched to the right. We heard the pilot's voice. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are continuing to experience some heavy turbulence. Those of you on the right-hand side of the aircraft may have noticed a slight reduction in the number of wings. This is no cause for alarm." The pilot's voice didn't sound like that of Denzel Washington, nor of Chesley Sullenberger, but somehow the calmness in his voice reassured me that pilots must have trained for this eventuality. I looked out of the window. It wasn't so much that the wing was missing, it was just, well, a little shorter than it used to be. We circled over Denver. In truth, we spiraled into Denver and landed with a thud and stopped. Nobody was getting off the plane. I had 28 minutes to make my connecting flight. But no worries, I was in an exit row, I had hand baggage, and I was able to quickly pull down the red lever, pop out the window, grab my bag, and jump out of the plane. I slid down the wing, and there I was, on the tarmac. It was freezing out there. I could see the twinkling lights of the terminal in the distance through the blinding snow. And then I spied an electric baggage cart, which had stopped to see what was going on. So I quickly ran over, hijacked the baggage cart, and sped towards the distant lights of the terminal. When I got there, I could only find one way to get into the building, and that was down a luggage chute, so I jumped. I sped down the chute. I was taken up a conveyor belt. It was dark in there, up, down, left, right. It was like Space Mountain. I had no idea where I was, so I pulled out my smartphone and looked at GPS. I was in the wrong terminal, going in the wrong direction. Panicked, I looked to my left, and I saw a faint light. I hopped off the conveyor belt and stumbled towards the light. And as I approached it, I tripped and fell into the void of a stairwell. I fell 2 stories onto another pile of bubble wrap on another cart. I was distracted just for a moment. And then I realized that next to the bubble wrap was a box of dangerous weapons that had been confiscated by the TSA. I rummaged through the dangerous knitting needles, the lethal nail files, the explosive shampoo, and there at the bottom I found a lightsaber. Zzz. I threatened the driver of the cart. I pushed the lightsaber, switched off, into the back of his body. He knew that with one flick of the switch, that light would come piercing through his spine and out through his stomach like an alien being born. He was petrified. "Take me to gate B32, I yelled. He obeyed. We sped out of the dimly lit luggage area into the bright lights of Terminal 2. We sped through Terminal 2 at a full 15 miles an hour. The public was scattering left and right as we went. As I got into Terminal 1, I could vaguely hear some sirens in the background. I looked around, and there appeared to be a small posse of electric carts following us. As we got into Concourse B, I could see gate B32 there at the end. We sped towards it. I quickly pulled out my boarding pass. I discarded the lightsaber. I grabbed my bag, and I jumped off the cart as it screeched to a halt, and I ran for the jetway. There was nobody there. I was all alone. Had they left for Washington, D.C. without me? Suddenly, I was no longer alone. I was surrounded by angry men in blue uniforms. I turned over and I looked at the departure board. American Airlines, 12:34 to Washington, D.C., cancelled. Ladies and gentlemen, direct flights can be more expensive, but please pay the extra money. It's so much cheaper than being arrested.
Thank you, Andy. You must fly a lot.
I do.
Okay. How often do you fly?
Internationally, a couple of times a year.
Okay.
I did fly to D.C. via Denver. It was true to start with.
Okay, you're always starting with some kind of a story. Exactly, exactly. So now what gave you the idea of the wings and the hijacking? I have to admit, I've thought of that myself, hijacking a baggage cart.
You know, it was a series of things. When you've had a lot of experiences traveling, things go wrong. You think about things that didn't go wrong. You get annoyed with the TSA and the time it takes to line up and the things they search for, which really, in my opinion, aren't that dangerous. So I just brought all of those things together and put them into a speech.
Now, think about TSA pre-check. I have that. You don't have to take all those things out of your bag.
I should do that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now to evaluate Andy, we have his evaluator, John Martos from ESL Talks. Please help me welcome John.
Thank you. Andy, my flight to DC. What an entertaining adventure you went through. I looked for a few things in your speech, Andy. I was looking for content. I was looking for delivery. And what I saw was a very energetic speaker up here. I was very entertained by your presentation. The story was something that, you know, good speakers and good comedic speakers do. They bring in reality to a story and then they elaborate on it and exaggerate on it. And that's exactly what you do. It was believable to fly into Denver and to have turbulence. To lose a part of the wing, I'm not so sure about. But I like when it landed that you improvised and you jumped out of the plane and ran across the tarmac. There were 5 components to your speech, which was very good. In humorous speech, you want to have 5 subtopics. And they were: the plane gets into trouble and lands, you got onto the tarmac, you got lost, and you brought out your props, your cell phone, your GPS. That was very good, very believable. You made it into the terminal, and you finished up with they chased you, and the police chased you, and they apprehended you. And all this came together as good elements in the content of your speech. In the delivery, I think there's no question, Andy, that your vocal variety and your body language certainly emphasized your speech, and that was really enhanced the the humorous speech. One thing I'll say that could help next time, it was a bit rushed. If you could pause when you make those strong points and give the audience a chance to express their enthusiasm and laughter, and then transition to the next element, that might enhance your speech a little better. A minor point, but one that could even make it even better next time. The props were wonderful, the chair was wonderful, and I like how you ended with a moral of the story. It's better to upgrade and pay more money than it is to get arrested. So Andy, excellent speech. I understand why you were the District 4 humorous speech champion. I want to encourage you to enter more competitions in the future, and maybe one day you'll be speaking at the International Convention. Very well done, Andy. Back to you.
Thank you, John. So we've seen some fabulous examples of very advanced speakers. Now, of course, with contests, it's not just about winning. There are many members that learn a lot just by going through the process. And I know both Henry and Andy have. Any club member who participates in the contest usually comes out a better speaker because of the additional rehearsals that they need to go through, being able to talk through those nerves and getting more comfortable in a more competitive environment. And that's something that we can all take away by participating in these club contests. Now, if you are interested in finding a club, you can visit one of two websites. The District 4 website is www.d4tm.org, and that is specific to District 4, again, which runs from San Francisco to Kings County. You can also look at the international website, which is www.toastmasters.org. Both sites use the same club finder, and you can look for clubs based on where they meet, what time they meet, what day they meet. And we look forward to having you visit one of our 250 plus clubs. Thank you so much. Come on up. Come on up. Come on up. Join me. Join me.